Welcome everyone to What's Your Story Live, the first episode in this season. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited and nervous at the same time, but I'm so happy that you've decided to join me. I am Leilani Langdon, the host of What's Your Story, a space where we're going to get to hear compelling stories of people who are willing to know, own, and share their stories. And so first of all, if you are here watching live, I want to shout you out. So go ahead and in the comments, let me know where you're watching from. I'm sure we have people watching from all over the country. So drop your city, your state, where you're watching from so I can give you a shout out. Man, I am so excited. For those of you who are tuning in, a lot of you know a part of the story and how I got here. But for those of you who don't, I'm just going to share the 2 second experience. But about a month and a half ago, 2 months, God said to me, Leilani, you need to make some room. You need to make some space for me. You have been living your faith in the kiddie pool, Michael Todd's words, living your faith in the kiddie pool, and I need you to move to the deep. And I was like, I'm not ready. I am not ready. But God was compelling me to do so. And so I said, you know what? I don't know what's in the deep, but I'm going to make some room. And so as I made room, God just started to develop all these ideas. I started to have all these conversations with individuals that brought up in me this passion to say, no, you have a story to share, and your story has the ability to transform somebody's life. And as a result of these conversations and interactions with some of you who are watching, this was born. And so it's amazing to see an idea come to life. And so thank you so much for joining today and being in this space with me. So I'm just going to say hi, some of you, because I'm just so happy you guys are here. And yes, girl, I am excited as well. Dave, thanks. Alma, love you, girl. This is like my second mother from Jersey. Gio from Georgia, Chantal, my girl from Toronto, Naperville, Atlanta, Orlando. My goodness. Adrian Lee from the kitchen. Hey, boo. Anyway, guys, I'm so happy that you are here with me. And so I just want to share a little bit about what I want to happen in the chat. I want you to know that for me, this is a safe space. This is a judgment-free zone, okay? Let's get a hand clap for the judgment-free zone. There are people that are going to be sharing their stories and their experiences. They're going to be taking a leap. They're going to be courageous. They're going to be brave. They're going to face their fears as they're sharing. And we need as much love and encouragement and positivity in the chats. So as you're hearing the experiences, as you're taking in the stories, I want you to affirm. I want you to encourage. Be an encourager, not just to the person sharing, but to each other. Okay. Yes, I'm getting some hand claps and some yeses, Christina. So go ahead and do that for me as we're going through this experience together. So here's what we're going to do. I've already told you this is a safe space for us to learn how to know, own, and share our stories. And we're going to do that by hearing other stories. But I want to highlight you guys. So every single week on this journey, I am going to be doing a What's Your Story highlight where we highlight one of your stories. Here's the reality. All of us have lived experiences, right? We all have things that we've struggled with, traumas we've experienced, and along the way to healing or along the way to resolution, we have experienced lessons and growth, and those matter. They matter. And so every single week, I want to highlight one of you guys. I want to know how you're sharing your story in your community, at your job, in your space. And so I'm going to ask you to, if you have used your story or part of your story to help someone else, I'm going to ask you to share that story in the comments. And each week I'll be choosing one of you to highlight. Simple as that. And I think it's pretty simple. So, yes, Stacy, so good to see you, girl. Okay. So for today's highlight, we have, let me pull it up here because I think that it's something. Okay. So for today's highlight, we have Hadassah Alexander. Hadassah, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, girl, throw up some hands so I can see you. Hadassah and I went to college. She was the administrative backbone of Deliverance Mass Choir, the ministry that Adrian and I led at Andrews University in Michigan. And as I started posting on social media and I asked the question, are you scared of sharing your story? She responded and said, Leilani, I'm not sharing my story until it's a bestseller. Okay. I need it to be complete, chapters written, all of it. It needs to be completed. And so we started to have this conversation about, well, what happens to the people in the middle of while you're going through your story that are feeling alone or hopeless, right? And is there room for us to help bridge that gap with one another by sharing our stories where we are, right? And she was like, so anyway, we left the conversation there. And hey, Dwayne, I see you all the way from GR, Michigan. So we left the conversation there. And a couple of days later, she responded with this message. And so she's my highlight today because I needed you guys to see this. So here we go. Let me see if I can pull it up here. All right. So she says, your influence made sharing my story almost effortlessly today. My coworker was having an anxiety attack, and I was able to help her because me and anxiety are BFFs. She shared her struggle, and I shared my coping skills. It wasn't that hard or embarrassing, and I still have hard days. I was telling her that yesterday I was having a panic attack and heartburn all while wearing a mask. I thought I was going to die. So after sharing my story of anxiety, it emboldened others to share their stories as well. I would have never known so many people are struggling with it. The way I've been hiding it all my adult life was because I was so scared of being labeled or judged or ridiculed. But yes, I have to agree, sharing our stories is vital, critical. People need it. Mercy. I got goosebumps. Okay. I got goosebumps reading that highlight. Let me tell you why that's so powerful. It is so powerful because, first of all, we all have these experiences that we undervalue, we minimize because we maybe don't think that we're still struggling it, like Hadassah, right? Like, I'm still having panic attacks. I can't possibly help somebody else. But there you see the example of that. I mean, and the conversation with her continued, she was just like, she was crying. She was like, I can't believe how I've been holding back on this for so long. And I took a step and I walked towards my fear. I pushed my fear aside and I did something that allowed me to gain something that she wanted. Now, let me tell you something. 90% of people struggle with anxiety. It's more common, but so many of us live in silence. So absolutely, Mercy. Yes, the labels are tough, but the courage to break through that is even tougher. Absolutely. And so first and foremost, I just want to thank Hadassah for the courage and the vulnerability that it took to be open with me and to be open with her coworker. But I also want to say to her, if she's watching, that the day that she sent me that message, I woke up discouraged because of the same things. I felt fear. I was nervous. I'm like, I can't do this. This is so scary. God, maybe tell me to do something else. And God was like, nope, you doing this. Okay. And I jumped onto Facebook, and the first message I got was hers, sharing that very highlight. And so I want to encourage you to share your highlights with me. You can DM them or you can drop them in the comments. If you have a story where you have used your story to help someone else, I want to highlight you. I want to honor you, and I want to celebrate your courage and your bravery together. So, but I wanted to jump to this before I bring on Kara. Guys, okay, in thinking about this process, I realized why Hadassah's experience is so powerful and why stories are so powerful in general. God is amazing. Okay, you're gonna need like the mind blown emojis here. All right. So, did you know that when we share our stories with one another, it does not matter how big of a group it is. It could be one person, it could be 50, it could be 1,000. Did you know that when you share your story with somebody, that your brain and their brain light up in the same exact area at the same exact time? Your brain waves are literally in sync. They are moving at the same time. Blood flow is going in to those regions of your brain at the same time. It's almost as if your brains begin to mirror. As a result of that mirroring, oxytocin is released. Okay? Woo, hold on. I have to stop for that because, oh, guys, oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It's the thing that is released when a mom and a baby breastfeed. It's the thing that's released when you're doing skin to skin to promote the that connection, that unbreakable bond. Okay. So literally, when you are sharing your story, when you, the guys who are here, when you are listening to Kara's story today, your brains are going to be in sync. Our brains are going to be in sync. And you know what that does? That increases bonding. So now Hadassah, for example, is bonded to this coworker. She now has an experience that can never be turned back. They feel closer to one another. It increases empathy. Guys, how many of us know that we need a little bit more empathy nowadays, right? It increases empathy. It increases compassion. Okay. And it allows the hearer to see, feel, and experience so that they can then take action. They can move forward. They can express the things that they've been hiding and they've been holding. So, guys, it made me think about, I wonder if that's why Jesus used stories when he shared the gospel, because he knew that it would be an avenue by which he would bond with his hearers, and in a way where they would kind of like hear his heart, feel, right? Feel, build compassion, build connection. And so listen, that blew my mind. And if it blew, I saw a couple of wows and mind blowns. Yes. Okay. So remember that when you are sitting in your fear, storytelling is healthier than chocolate, which also produces oxytocin. Yes. But listen, how about you tell your story while you're eating chocolate? So you just get a bigger burst of it. But while you're facing, kind of sitting in that fear of not wanting to share your story, remember that your story has the power to help others feel connected to you and to grow and to build community. So anyway, wanted to leave you with that little nugget before we bring on Kara. And so I'm going to do that right now. If I can turn this off. Hey, Saba from New Jersey. Hey, girl. Adrian didn't expect the parable connection. Listen, I need a theologian, maybe Claudia Allen, because we've been joking on her with the edges and stuff like that. Maybe Claudia, you can go ahead and break that down for us. How when Jesus was telling stories, he was using the physiological experience in order to gain a connection with his followers. Absolutely, and yes, I'm fascinated with science as well. It's powerful how God wired our brain. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to bring Kara on stage because we're getting ready to hear her story. And so let's go ahead and do that now.
Hi.
Kara, how are you?
Oh, good. Doing really good.
It's good to see you. So before I ask you to go ahead and introduce yourself, I just want to say that the first time that I heard your story, I got chills. And it, first and foremost, the story itself was so powerful and unique, but it was just the way you delivered it. It was so real. It was so raw. It was so authentic. And I think just being able to model that for people want to see that. They want to see the rawness and the realness and authenticity when we're sharing those stories. So anyway, tell me a little bit more about who you are. Tell us who you are, and then we'll go from there.
Oh yeah. Well, I hope that I can recreate that for you today. So my name is Kara Oceguera, and we met at church. So I live here in Illinois now. I'm originally from Tennessee, and sometimes that accent comes through, so you might hear it a little bit. So
all right.
Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. Awesome. Tennessee. Awesome. So tell me, so why don't we just go ahead and Kara, tell me, what's your story?
Yeah. So growing up, when I was a kid, I mean, I would say most people have this experience, but not most, some, but I loved playing. I called it grown-ups. I loved to imagine what my life would be like. I was so into baby dolls, all of that stuff as a kid, Barbie dolls, everything. And then when it got too uncool, to be playing with that kind of stuff, then I was so excited to have The Sims, the computer game. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Loved it.
I
And
do.
like the game of life. I can't really tell you how the game of life is played because I would always cheat. Like I always had this little plan. Like I knew what career I wanted. I knew the kids. I knew just when I wanted to add all those people into my little car. And so, that has always just been my dream to be married, to have a family. That was, it was just since I was a little kid. That was just so ingrained in me. And so, I went to college and I met a guy there. We got married and I thought that we were checking off all the right boxes. We had been friends for 4 years. So we had that friendship foundation level, which a lot of times in relationships, they say, make sure you're friends first and, really cultivate that friendship. And so I thought, yes, got that checked. And then, and he was a Christian. And so, it just seemed like, what else do you need? And so we had been married for just shy of 4 years. Things were going well. If you had asked me, I would have said, that we had a great marriage. There was nothing that I could really complain about. I was happy. I would have told you that I was, that I was really happy. And we were starting to make moves in our career to kind of set up to have a family. And we had started having those conversations about, when is it the right time for us to start having kids? And so, I could see everything in my life, it was just check, 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 check. It was like I'd gone to college, I had graduated, I had gotten my master's in social work, I was working, I had done my dream job in foster care, and then I was, I was shifting into hospitals because we wanted something that was a little bit more, family friendly, schedule wise for me, and just emotionally. So we had done that, and we were checking off all those boxes. Everything was going according to plan, which was exactly how I wanted it to go. And so then it was a completely normal day. We were having a normal conversation, and then somehow it just shifted a little, and all of a sudden he's telling me that he no longer shares the same beliefs that I have, that he no longer wants a family, and that he no longer believes in marriage. And it was just this complete upside down. If you had asked me 5 minutes before that conversation, if there was even the realm of possibility that would come up, I would have said, no, absolutely not. And then, so within 24 hours, he was gone and he had moved out. And then we were on track to get divorced. And it was
just like that.
It was crushing.
It was from one day to the next.
Yeah. And it was just, I felt so out of control. And there was so many, moments of like, why me? What did I do to deserve this? And why am I not enough? Why am I not lovable? For somebody to vow to share their life with you. And then without, there was none of that. When we hear about divorce, the years of, disconnection, or the months, or, anything like that. There was nothing that I could point to. It was just like something had just flipped. And, so I am internalizing all this, and there's so much anger. And there was a lot of worry and fear. And I was just stuck on, my identity was, I am a wife and I hope to be a mom. So without all of that, who am I? And so I probably about two or 3 days, after he left, I had started telling, my family and my friends, and just continuing to just kind of absorb all of this while still trying to go about my normal work life and try to, just be present. And one morning, about, 2 or 3 days after that, I woke up with this horrible back pain. I mean, still to this day, it is the worst pain that I have ever experienced in my life. Wow. There was nothing that made it better. Sometimes if you shift a little bit, or, okay, let me like stand up and I'm okay. Or if I sit down, or, lay down, I mean, even taking medication, like there was nothing wow. that helped this. And I mean, it was just constantly there. I could barely walk. And, I'm like at this job and I'm just like shuffling along, and it was horrible, and I said, I was just like, I don't know what is going on here. I can't deal with this. And, it was that night right after it had started. And I was, talking to a family friend who also happens to be a counselor. And, I had called her to really get that support, and, just to kind of hear her side of it. Cause, it's one thing to, hear your family and your friends encourage you, but when it's, somebody who's a little bit outside of it, and a counselor, like I needed something, give me something that I can hold on to. And so I was just updating her about everything that had happened. And then, I think I just happened to mention, this horrible back pain started, and, I just like, what's next, And so she kind of said, well, like, what have you been thinking about? Like, what are you telling yourself, or like, what's going on? And so, of course it was nothing good.
Right.
It was.
What are some of those things? Can you share what some of those?
Yeah. It was just like, my life is over, in the sense of, everything that I had hoped for, everything that I had dreamed for. There's like, there's nothing like to come after this, like there's nothing that I can do. And it was just very much that, like that I'm unlovable. Like, how am I, like, if this ends, how am I ever supposed to go to somebody else? Like, because they would look at me and say, wait a second, somebody already said that they didn't want you. So like, why would I want you? And that was just the constant thing playing in my head is, if this doesn't work, there is no chance for me, to have this dream and this, what I wanted, like how I saw my life going and how I expected everything to happen. And, and just the, like, you're not enough. And, this is, and also like just the, like, this is gonna like crush your parents, like, yeah. Like letting them down, and your family and your friends, and just like, and being in the church, how do you talk about this? And there was just like all of that was just, sitting on me. And, and so she said, you have to change your thoughts, like your body is literally sending you a message saying, you cannot continue to do this. And, yes, I have a background in social work and psychology. And so, on a level, like I know that, like right. I knew it, but to put it into practice was just, it was so difficult. And, and there's just like, I never felt separated from God, but it was just this, like, what did I do to deserve this? Or like, and where do you take me from here? Like, how am I supposed to pick up the pieces here? And, and so I knew in that moment, no matter how hard it was, that there had to be a shift, that there had to be, like, something had to give. Yeah. And, it was hard, but over the, like, days and weeks and months even, it started to come about. And there was this, just this overwhelming peace, that just settled on me. And that said, like, you're going to be okay. Like, we're going to get through this. And, but I realized in that moment, it was, God was saying, like, this is not about getting him back. This is not about the next step, like whoever else is out there. This is not about just changing your thoughts. It was like, this has to be a soul shift. Like, you have to completely shift. And, like I said, I grew up in church. I was a Christian. And I would say that like, so my relationship with God was probably like, thinking about like driving a car, like I was driving and, it's like, yeah, God, like I want you here. Like, I want you in my passenger seat. Like, I want to be close to you. I want you to be there. I want to like let you encourage me and, comfort me as we're driving along. But like I've got a roadmap, so don't worry about that. Yeah, like I know where I'm going. So like, thank you for coming along the ride, but like I've got this. And it was really that, like I had to let go of that. I had to let go of it, and not just, and like it was just that piece of not just saying like, okay, it's fine if I never get married again or if I never have kids, like, like, and it was like, that's not what this is about. Like, this is not it's not about what you're not getting or saying, I'm okay if that never happens. It's about saying, I'm okay right now.
Wow.
And, like, I am okay just being in your presence, just being in the car with you. Yeah. And about like, okay, like, let's let you get in the driver's seat and I'll sit in the back seat. Like, I don't have to know where we're going, and it's like, let me, just go back there. And, so there were a lot of things that I started doing to kind of help me make that shift. And the first one that I started, pretty much that moment, like after I had that conversation, was, trying to be grateful. And, because, and what that did for me was, instead of looking around and saying like, okay, I've accomplished this, I've got this, when I shifted and tried to become more grateful, it was like looking at, okay, like, what is God doing here? Like, how am I able to look past the chaos, past the anger, past the hurt? Like, what can I see outside of this? And honestly, it was difficult. And there were many, many days where it was, okay, I have nothing to be grateful for. And in my head, I knew, okay, I'm sure that 99% of people in the world have a way worse situation than me. Like, I knew that. But it was like, this was happening to me, and it was happening right now. And I knew that, okay, yes, I will be okay in the future. I get that. But right now, like, this is really hard. And so, some days it would come down to like, okay, I'm grateful that I can walk. Because, I mean, I could remember, when I had that horrible back pain and I could hardly walk. And oh yeah, I guess I should go back. So within probably like a day or two of really just focusing on what I was grateful for, I mean, that pain went away, like, completely. Wow. Wow. And so I know. And so I knew it was like, okay, like, this is what I have to hang on to, not, okay, what is my next step or where am I going? But like, let me stop in this moment and just be grateful. Wow. And really it did come down to, like, think, okay, like, I'm grateful that I can walk, I'm grateful that I have this tiny little apartment to come back to, like, just like tiny little things. And doing that, it really did help to shift my soul into, not what am I getting and where am I going, but what can I give, and where is God taking me?
Wow.
And like, the next thing that I really had to do was like to think about forgiveness, because
we could be here all evening if we had to address forgiveness.
Right. And it was just that, because yes, I could be grateful and I could focus on the moment, but then there were still those times of like that, just like anger and rage, why is this happening to me? Like, why are you doing this to me? And I knew that I had to get out of that. And it was, yes, forgiveness, for others, forgiveness towards him, but then also, forgiveness to myself, because it was really easy to blame him and say, you're the one that walked out. Right. You're the one that didn't give this a chance to work out. So it is your fault. It was really easy to just take that way and say, I'm blameless in this because I was willing to stay and work it out. And, and it really took like forgiving myself for just things that I wasn't even aware of. And, and stopping that, what if, what if I had done this then? What if I had done that? And just letting it go. And then just, and going forward in that peace and going forward in knowing that wherever I go, whatever I do, I will be okay. Yeah. And I remember, so I text my sister, I called her at some point and I said, listen, you need to tell your kids, which shouldn't have any kids at this point. I said, when you have kids, you need to tell them that they need to take care of me when I get older. And that, that like, I'm just going to spoil them. And, my other nieces and it was, and I know she was probably like, hey, it's okay. Like, don't think like that, Yeah. And it was not a moment of like, oh, poor me. Like, this is just what it's going to be. But it was this moment of like that. I'm okay. Like, it doesn't matter where I go from here, because I know that, that what I am experiencing and what I'm shifting to is better than that. I had to let go of that dream to let God move in and create a different dream for me.
Listen, can you say that again? Say that again. That is such a huge point. And I think you talk about contentment and that idea of being okay, but it was in letting kind of God do that for you.
Right.
Yeah. Say that again, girl.
Ooh. Yes. Yeah, I did. I had to let go of my dreams and say, like, your dream is bigger and whatever it is, like, that's where I'm going. And, as I was thinking about, like growing and moving with God, it was, in the forgiveness, that and loving your enemies, like that was the part that I was so, it was like, okay, I can do all of this. I can be grateful. I can forgive because I don't have to see him to do that. I don't have to tell him, like, that's just something that I do. But then to love, like, what does that mean to love him after he's done this? And, and so it really, when I said, okay, obviously love looks a little bit different. But it was this, I have to like let the love that I feel God pouring into me and let it come out, because I couldn't, if that was what I wanted, love from God, from others, from whoever, I couldn't do that unless I was also giving that. And it couldn't be just, okay, everyone else except this little corner, and it's like, I couldn't keep that and still experience all of that. And so, in that moment when I said, okay, like, I wish the best for him, I wish goodness for him. I wish, everything, like, I want him to experience all of that. Then it was this, this overwhelming peace that just continued. And it was, I realized in that moment that, okay, so when God says, when Jesus says, love your enemies, it's not out of like, some type of like, okay, this is hard. Like, I want to make things hard for you. And I know that this is going to be hard. So I want you to practice this. It was realizing that, when Jesus says, like, come to me, all you who are weary. And I was so weary, and it said, my yoke is light, or my yoke is, and then my burden is light. Yeah. And that's what it was, is I realized that when I love it, it is easy, because all of my life it was this, being a Christian is hard, like following Jesus is hard. But it was in that moment that I realized, like, no, like, God designed me perfectly to thrive in love. And I thought that when the object of my love was removed, that there's no love left, And so it was that shifting of, no, like, it is so much harder to hold on to that hate, to hold on to that anger, to hold on to all of that. And it's like, yes, it thinking of it is hard, but it was realizing that, okay, like your burden is light, like, I get it, Jesus, like, I get it, because not only was my physical pain literally gone, but it was that, that overwhelming peace that just emotionally and mentally just really helped me to shift. And then, so I didn't really share this with a lot of people. I didn't really talk to my family or, I would say I'm fine. But I didn't let them know that in my world, this cosmic soul shift was happening. Wow. And so I did talk to one of my friends a little bit, and I would share with her. And she said, I hear you talking and I see it in you. I see how, relaxed and at peace you are. And just, my stress level, I think, was gone, and all of this. And she said, I see this in you. And also I feel God telling me that I need to introduce you to my friend David. Whoa. And so, and so it was like,
whoa. That was a shift.
Yes. And so, right. And so then, she introduces me to this guy named David who lived clear across the country. I was in Tennessee. He was in California, literally 2,000 miles apart. And then, we got married, and now we have a baby. And so, and it was just that, it's easy to say, like your friend was saying, like in the middle of the story or waiting till the end.
Yes.
And, so sometimes I look back on my story and it's like, okay, yes, maybe it looks like it's the end, but it's like, no, this is I can see now that this is the beginning. This is the pulling of us forward. And it was only when I was like, okay, I don't have to be the one in the driver's seat anymore. I really can, let go of my dreams, let go of my plans and my predictability, which for someone who likes to be in control and wants things so predictable, I gave a lot of control to somebody outside of me to say, wow, you, one person, are in control of all of my happiness, Wow, and so it was that shifting of realizing I can stop in whatever circumstance I'm in whatever is happening, and I can be grateful and find joy just in knowing that, I have a relationship with God, and I have that. And then also letting that extend outwards, not letting it stop with me, but saying whether it is, giving love to my enemies or just whoever I would pass at work, just letting it continually come out.
Spill out of you.
Yeah.
Wow. Kara, honestly, I'm gonna just say this. I don't remember all of that from your story. Oh my gosh, girl, you have me up here oh my gosh, I can't mess up my makeup. The fact that this soul shift put you in a position to be whole in Christ before you truly met your one,
right?
So to speak,
right.
Like you said, it's almost like this marriage was a catalyst, right? For that experience with God, that God was saying, no, baby girl, I need you and me. I need you to let me lead.
Right. Wow. And and one of my favorite stories that I found, well, I mean, obviously I knew it. It was this, the story of Joseph. Heard it all growing up, sold into slavery by his brothers. And then but it took on new meaning for me during all this experience because, there's a moment where his brothers come to him asking for forgiveness. And, it's that perfect time to get revenge, that perfect time. And it's like, gosh, what would I have done if I had had that moment, And, but it's, and Joseph, he looks at it and he says, what you meant for evil, God has meant for good. And I came to understand that, divorce, God didn't see that as good. It wasn't like God said, okay, oh yeah, this divorce is good for you. Right. God didn't say okay, this is good. And, it's not necessarily, that God wanted it to happen. I don't believe that, but it was, okay, this is what's happening in your life. So how do you want to move forward? Do you want to choose to say, God can use this for good? Or do you want to choose to be stuck in, he is evil, this is evil, and live the rest of your days just being stuck there and saying that, everything that happened to me was outside of my circumstances. you know? And so, and it was like, I could have easily stayed there.
Yes.
And it was just that, okay, like, yeah, like you have to make that shift. And again, it goes back to like, it was that overwhelming peace and that realization that like I know, like you were talking about all that science and everything in the beginning, like that's what it is. Like
Yes.
we were intentionally designed, you know, like we were intentionally designed to thrive
Yes.
when we are giving love. And, you know, the way that God showed love to us. And so it was that shift of, okay, like it's up to me. Like God is saying here, like you can choose whether I use this for good or whether you stay stuck. And this happened to me and it was evil.
Wow. Listen. I don't know about you guys listening, but I feel like I need a moment to like digest everything that you were sharing because it is just such an amazing testimony and testament to what a story surrendered to God can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because in the midst of you trying to deal with this trauma, you know, the fact that your
Mm-hmm.
body started to physically manifest what was happening inside of you, listen, I mean, that just tells you how much, was happening in you.
Mm-hmm.
And for God to take that and to mold it and heal you and direct you out of this place of sorrow uh,
Right.
into joy and peace and love so
Mm-hmm.
you can give that to others,
Mm-hmm.
that is nothing but the grace of God.
Right.
That's
Right.
nothing but
Exactly.
the grace of God. Oh my goodness. Listen, yes, Crystal, I'm gonna need a replay for real. Like I'm gonna go back and watch this just because of the gems. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kara. Listen, I man, I just want to thank you for your authenticity and your
Mhm.
genuine spirit. It was raw and it was real. And
Yeah.
I am so grateful for you and for you sharing that experience. I do want to share. I want to shift here because part of this, we can be here talking about
Right.
these topics forever because there's so much layered into what you experienced and what we've experienced.
Mhm.
But for those who are listening, right, and have a story and they're experiencing maybe apprehension to share that,
Mhm.
I want you to answer this question for us. What emotions did you experience when thinking about sharing your story for the first time, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah.
Overcome that.
So, I mean, obviously, yeah, a lot of fear. And I think it was tied up in, you know, like the shame of saying, like, I had to verbally say, I'm divorced, you know,
Wow.
and it wasn't this, you know, yeah, we gave it a good try. We stuck it out for many years because
Right.
in my head, those are the people that get divorced. They've been married
Right.
for years and years and years. And then it's like, yeah, it just didn't work. It's like, no, it was 4 years. And then he decided he didn't love me, you know, and it was just this, yeah, the shame of, yeah, how do I say that? How do I stand up and say those words,
Right.
you know? And just this fear of, yeah, like, what are people going to think of me? Like, are they going to even hear me? Because they're going to be like, okay, like she's divorced. Like, can we really trust
Judgment,
her? Can
right?
we? Yeah, exactly. Like, this is not like a perfectly little neatly tied story. And, and I think that, you know, and part of it too was like their perceptions of it, because it is so personal, you know, to
Mm.
share this.
Yep.
And it was so life changing for me. I mean, it really
Right.
was. Like I said, I mean, it was that soul shit. Like, it was so big for me.
It's
And
deep.
so, yeah, it was. You feel it in your soul. And so it's like, if I put it out there and tell other people, are they going to be like, oh yeah, that was a cool story. Thanks. You know, like I've heard better, or, you know, and then it's just like,
Girl.
and then, well, then it's like, okay, well, does that mean that like what I experienced wasn't good, or, you know, like, oh, should I figure this out a long time ago? Or, you know, it's just all of that kind of, you know, like, what are people going to think?
Yeah.
And so, and one of the ways that I really overcame that was to, you know, to understand that my responsibility, and because I do feel a calling to share this story. So my responsibility is just to share it. That's all it is. It is not my responsibility to change lives. Like that is God's responsibility.
Yep.
So maybe my story, part of it can click with somebody, and maybe it's 10 years down the road that something shifts. But that's not me. That's not my role. Like I am just sent to be like the storyteller. Like I don't have to change lives. Like, and so it's like when I took that weight off, it was like, okay, like, yeah, God, like you're the one doing the heavy lifting. Like that is your business.
Yes.
Change lives, to put people in the right places, to hear things, to do things. Like I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that it just relieves a lot of pressure of like, yeah, like I'm being responsible to my call to tell the story. Yeah. And what happens after that is not my responsibility.
Right. Right. That is so powerful, because the freedom that comes from being able to relinquish that, to relinquish though, what are they going to think? Right. And that keeps so many people from moving in the thing that God wants them to move in, because what are people going to think? Okay, what are people going to think, and why are we held so captive to that? But by you allowing God to do the heavy lifting, yes, girl, by you allowing God to do the heavy lifting and you recognizing that your only responsibility was to share your story and your truth, right? Then it gave God the freedom to move through you to now help heal others, help restore others, help encourage others.
Right.
Wow. Listen. But this is the next question I want to ask. And I didn't mention this earlier to the people in the chat, but right as we we're close to kind of wrapping up, and I didn't mention this, but if you wanted to ask a question to Kara, go ahead and feel free to do that, and we'll try to answer a couple of them as they come in. But Kara, what has sharing your story inspired you to do? So you talked about kind of letting God do the heavy lifting and moving towards sharing. So what has it inspired you to do?
Yeah. And I knew that when all of this was going on, I could feel that tug of, like this is going to be a pivotal moment. Like you are going to use this. And again, it's that like, if you'll let me, like I can use this. And so I started like writing things down and just making sure that I was remembering everything. And, because I didn't want that pain to be wasted. It was, it was difficult. It was the failing of a marriage. And I don't want other people to experience that, and so it was moving forward. David, when we met, he had also been divorced and had a similar story. And, so for both of us coming together, even while we were still dating, we knew, okay, we have to use this story somehow. And so we started, after we got married, we started writing a blog. We've done, workshops. We've talked to schools, just doing things. And now we have a podcast. And our mission, our purpose, our goal is just to help other people, to have these happy and healthy relationships. And not saying that everything that we did was perfect, because obviously we had failed marriages, but it's like it's the same, like us sharing our story. Like this is what we learned in that experience. And also together in our marriage, we know, okay, like this is what happens when you're not intentional.
Wow.
So it's us taking those like really intentional steps to continue to, learn from others and glean things, and then to like give it back out and to share it, because like divorce was painful, and we don't want people to experience that. And we want people to, experience that the love God has for them and in their marriage. So, it kind of, it for sure inspired us to do that. And then like within the last few years, I've started, I created, I guess it's a store. And it was, in those first few, those first few weeks, it was so crucial for me to just hold on to like phrases and different things. And so, and just realizing how much those little reminders just helped me, and kind of moving forward through that. And so I started a store to kind of, there's like t-shirts and mugs and different things just to like help remind people. And part of that too is like, I wanted to continue to give back to foster care. because it was my dream job. It was such a good experience. And maybe eventually I'll find my way back into foster care, but for right now, it's not in the cards. But I still wanted to be able to, to give back in some way. And so, starting the store, like, it was really that way to encourage people, as they remind themselves it's called the B collection. So to be grateful, to be happy, to be loved, to be kind. Yes. So remind yourself that so you can share it with other people, but then the ripple effects that can start from that. Just like one act of kindness, one act of love, and then how much further that can go.
Do you, so you kind of skipped by it, but I need the people in the chat to know, right? Because we're going to do the shameless plug thing. So you talked about a blog. I kind of want to share. Can you share the name? And then we'll put all this information in this chat when the live is over. So you guys, listen, I mean, you are witness to this story. So you can only imagine, the blog and the podcast. So kind of share with us the name of the podcast, the store. And then I think that the store, when you purchase something off your store, proceeds go towards something, right?
Yeah, they go to foster care. It's to an organization. It's called Rise Together. No, that's not. I always forget it. I say it wrong because I get so nervous.
No worries.
It's called Together We Rise. I get it in my head the wrong way, and you kind of always say it that way. Yeah, Together We Rise, and they help foster kids to, when they're moving houses, to just have a bag. I can't tell you how many times I moved a foster kid with trash bags, and it's so heartbreaking. And then, or just to they have nothing. You move them with nothing, and just to give them a stuffed animal, to just something. And then they also work a lot with reunification with siblings and making sure that they have those, which is just, like your siblings, those are the one relationship that lasts, through your entire life, and so they're there, when you're little and you have your whole life. And so keeping that relationship intact. So the blog is inpursuitoflove.org. And there's links there to the podcast. You can find it on, I think, most podcasts. I don't know, David does all that sides, but
yeah. I think so. I think it's on any podcast.
Yeah. And then the store is called, the website for that is thebcollection.org. BE. Okay.
So right after we'll drop that in, or if your hubby's on, he can go ahead and drop that in. But I just want to say, Kara, again, thank you so much for your openness, your vulnerability. We, Kathleen Simpson said it. We overcome by sharing, and you have been able to continue to overcome and to grow, and for God to continue to write your story as you share, as you pour in, like you said, right? What God is pouring into you, you've been pouring out in your new marriage and your relationship. And I'm excited that I get to be a part of that part of your story, when I get to see you and David and Everly and her beautiful baby girl just grow and continue to pour into other marriages. It's such a powerful testament of your healing. And so I just want to thank you again for your authenticity. Guys, let's give her a hand clap in the drop your gratitude in the chat for her. And so, Kara, thank you again. For your bravery and your courage to share your story. Yeah. All right. I'll see you, Kara. I'm gonna pull you back. All right, guys. So thank you so much for coming to the first ever episode of What's Your Story? Man, I am gonna have to take all of this in. Just for my own, just to process it and learn and grow from it. Her authenticity is something that takes bravery, and I'm just so grateful for her. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. I want you to save your calendars for next week, Sunday, same time, same place, where we will have Avery and Crystal Anderson, some dear friends of mine who are going to be sharing their journey towards healing from a loss that no one wants to ever experience, the loss of a child. And so I encourage you to come back next week to continue to see how God is moving in the lives of people and how people are stepping up and out to know, own, and share their story. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Pastor David is dropping the info for the podcast. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for sharing. And go ahead and share this with anyone that you think needs to hear it, needs to take it in so that they can continue to grow. As always, know, own, and share your story. Don't forget to drop your highlights so that we can highlight your story on another episode of What's Your Story? See you next week. Thanks for sharing.